work for them. And so here the manifesto we are unpacking for you is not that all your problems are going to be solved per se, or that we are going to give you everything that you want. But we can at least guarantee that our government will create an enabling environment, which means that a talented young man from Kamwatcha can rise to be the next icon of on the African continent or in the world. That it is possible to leave your university and have a job that gives you dignity, not because it's the only thing you can settle for. So thank you so much. We ask you to please broaden and allow yourself to imagine what is going to happen after 2026. So this is how it's going to flow. Each priority area will have 5 minutes, and we encourage each of us to keep our questions. We shall ask the questions at the end of the general presentations. So we will have the presentation in how they are ordered within the manifesto. What that looks like is that number one on the priority list is going to be what is presented first. So the first priority point we have in our manifesto is on freedom and constitutionalism. And it is going to be presented by our party General Secretary, Honorable David. Mr. General Secretary, allow me to invite you to take us through the first priority point. Let's welcome him.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, comrade leaders present today. We are here to unpack the NUP manifesto, and I'm here to talk about our manifesto priority 1, which is about restoring constitutionalism, human rights, and the rule of law. First of all, what is the problem in Uganda? The problem in Uganda today is governance. Uganda does not have any other problem except governance. All problems that we have in Uganda today can be summarized in one word: the failure of governance. Uganda ranks 126th out of 142 countries on the rule of law index. So you can imagine Uganda beats just very, very few countries in the world in terms of respect for the rule of law and human rights. That is terrible. In Uganda, media rights are not respected. Journalists and media practitioners are regularly harassed. There are enforced disappearances in Uganda. Up to now, we are looking for 18 people who were abducted by the Museveni regime in the last election. Yesterday, the president delegated me to attend a briefing ceremony for one of the children of Damlila John, who had disappeared in 2020, and up to now, he has never surfaced. And as you know, our Kenyan brothers, 2 of them, were picked on the campaign trail on the 1st of October. Up to now, nobody knows where they are. Sam Mugumia, who was abducted from Marara, is still missing, and many other people. What is the other problem? Due process and legal environment. Many people can tell you in Uganda that if you're poor, you're not going to get justice in the courts of law. If you go to courts of law and you don't have money, you are sure that the person who has money is going to beat you at your case, no matter how good case you have. That is why people say, Omwavu, Tasinga Musango. Electoral integrity. That in Uganda today, many citizens out there will tell you everywhere we go, Kyagulanyi never namulangiria, because there is no electoral integrity. People go and vote. You saw what happened in Kayunga, where the regime just took over and declared whoever they wanted. The other problem related to governance is, of course, corruption. The breakdown of constitutional order. In the 1995 Constitution, it provides that the Constitution would be durable. Unfortunately, every time the Constitution has stood in Mr. Museveni's path, he just kicks it down the road, uses the military, usurps Parliament, bribes Parliament, and takes over the functions and amends the Constitution illegally, and the Parliament, of course, and the judiciary have been weakened very, very strongly. And there is a deliberate attack on the civil society. You all recall that a few years ago, over 5,000 NGOs which were dealing with governance issues were closed down by the Museveni regime. I can go on and on talking about the problems, but before telling you what NUP is going to do, I wanted us to get to know the problem. Now, what is NUP promising? Number one, to restore term limits in our constitution. NUP will not only restore term limits, but it will entrench them. And any president who will attempt to remove term limits will be charged with treason. It will be a treasonable offense to try to remove the mandatory term limits from the Constitution of Uganda under the National Unity Platform. Number two, in accordance with the Supreme Court decision, NUP is going to remove that UPDF amendment which took civilians back to military courts. Civilians will not be tried in military courts whatsoever. Number three, like the president said on the trade, the first action he will take once elected president of Uganda is to free all political prisoners. Now, you people who are watching us are the reason why those prisoners will be in prison after the election day. Because if you vote for NUP, all political prisoners, beginning with Dr. Chiza Besigye, Machete, Eddie Mutwe, Achideo, Gaddafi, and the Karamajong, who have been taken to those prisons and are not being tried for no crime whatsoever, will be freed immediately. Meaning that a vote for NUP is a vote to free all political prisoners. The media who are here today under NUP, no security forces, no police officer will interfere with the work of journalists in the new Uganda. Journalists will be free to do their role without fearing what will happen when they go back home. Under NUP, the president will not appoint the Electoral Commission. The powers to appoint the Electoral Commission will be taken off from the president. First of all, we are going to bring about separation of powers. Parliament will be independent, the judiciary will be independent. And therefore there will be organs. There will be a committee dealing with this, and the final approval coming from Parliament. So, the powers to appoint the Electoral Commission, because we all know that that is one of the biggest problems we have today, where one of the candidates is the one who is appointing the Electoral Commission. That will not only go to the Electoral Commission, but also the appointment of judicial officers, including the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice and all other judicial officers. That power will move out from the President. As you all know right now in Uganda, all judges from the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court, and the High Court, all of them have been appointed by one man called General Museveni. That is why many of them feel emboldened to him. That is why many of them feel indebted to him to do what is against the Constitution and what is against the judicial oath. But we believe that if the President is not the one appointing judicial officers, then judicial officers are going to do their function independently and serve the citizens of Uganda. In the new Uganda, there will be no internet shutdowns. Facebook will be restored. You will not need to be on VPN to access Facebook. UCC will no longer have powers to switch on the internet when they feel like. That one will not happen in the new Uganda. The civil society, NGOs and others will be allowed to function. We are going to have merit-based appointments. In the new Uganda, it will not depend on where you come from, what is the size of your nose, how old you are, where you come from, to get a job. In the new Uganda, you will get a job based on merit. You will get a job across the board. So that is how we plan to restore constitutionalism and the rule of law. We are going to remove all oppressive laws from the law books that we have. And very, very finally, we are going to have lifestyle audits as part of our fight against corruption. If you are serving the government, you must tell us where the money you're using is coming from, because we want to make sure that the money of the citizens is used to fight for the rights of the people and not for personal aggrandizement.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again, Mr. SG. I think that's a very clear plan about how we are going to undo the shrinking space that we enjoy as a country. I just want to let you know that it is possible to access this manifesto on the party official social media platforms, the party website. Please look for it and be able to read some of the things that may not be captured in this short presentation. Having said that, allow me to welcome the leader of opposition, our party spokesperson, to present the second priority area, which is on ending corruption and wasteful expenditure.
Thank you. This reminds me of our school debating days, where you're given 5 minutes to hammer the point. I'll attempt to do that. Our manifesto priority area number 2 is ending corruption and wasteful government expenditure. One of the biggest quandaries we have in our country. Let me paint a picture for you quickly. Our national debt currently is 116 trillion shillings. That's how much you and I owe. That means every Ugandan, including the baby that was born this morning, owes 2.5 million shillings. Every single Ugandan, including those who have never seen that kind of money. That's how bad it is. Borrowed and disbursed loans, money that is borrowed and it sits on accounts unutilized for a very long period, and yet we have got to pay interest on that. That has got to end. We want to plan for our country efficaciously, and it's possible for us to be able to do that. As you know, some of the borrowed money is stolen. We have a debt rollover which we accumulate annually. That's money that we borrow and we are unable to pay. Domestic arrears. There's something called domestic arrears when government, ordinary people do business with government and government doesn't pay. That figure is 14 trillion shillings. People who supply food to government, ministries, departments, and so on, who do construction work, ordinary Ugandan people, 14 trillion shillings. These people borrow money from the bank so that they can do this government job, and government doesn't pay. So businesses are crumbling, local businesses. Meanwhile, we have foreign investors who come here. They are guaranteed land, they are given free land, tax holidays, they are guaranteed money. Ineti, I don't know, whoever, Roko was given 200 plus billion shillings. Achak Sugar Factory, 600 billion shillings. They by a farmer. These guys who promised to push together COVID vaccine, 723 billion shillings. That nonsense is going to stop under our leadership. So that we focus on the ordinary Ugandan. There's no reason why our roads cannot be built by these young engineers who graduate. It's something that we should be able to do, but you bring foreigners here, they consume all the money, including the freebies that we give them. Look, we have got a lot of poor planning that happens, something that we want to eliminate. Every year, we have several schedules of supplementary budgets, up to about 5 trillion shillings. Now, supplementary is supposed to be a bigwabitalazi. And so on, and then government comes to parliament and says, we need to plan for this. Let's avail money. But here is a surprising thing. State House, Office of the President, which uses, by the way, over 2 billion shillings per day. Their annual budget is exhausted in the first quarter, in 3 months. That's a reality, always. In the first 3 months, their entire 12 months budget is exhausted. Then they come back to Parliament for supplementary budget. That nonsense has got to stop. And we intend to stop it. We have extensively talked about corruption. We know that on an annual basis, we lose 10 trillion shillings per year to theft. Those are hospitals, those are schools, those are roads that are stolen on an annual basis. Our government intends to make it risky for anyone to steal taxpayers' money. I know there are people who have said, and I know folks in the Inspectorate of Government, they say our challenge is our people are not morally upright. That's why there's a lot of stealing that happens. Man is inherently evil. Look, governments elsewhere, countries elsewhere where there's not as much corruption, it's not because their people are morally upright and good. No, government has made it risky to steal. You steal taxpayers' money, we lock you up. So that others speak a lesson and know you cannot touch taxpayers' money. So we don't want to always talk about corruption like these folks. You will see action. Finally, we intend to eliminate taxes on essential items like menstrual products, scholastic materials, and school data bundle. We were debating this issue sometime in Parliament, and there was a young lady, I now hear she's going to run for woman MP. She's the current youth MP, Uganda. Now I hear she wants to represent the people of Luwero as woman MP. She said, no, let's not reduce taxes on Pampers, because when we reduce taxes on Pampers, homosexuality. I said, did this one even go to school? How do you reason that? Anyway, for us want to practically do that, accessible by our ordinary people, by the poor people whom we must be able to bolster. Here is the catch. We want to introduce a pay tax threshold of 1 million shillings. That means, for those of you that are employed in the formal sector, because currently for as long as you earn anything above 249,000, you are in the tax bracket, you must pay tax. First, we are saying no. Anyone who earns below 1 million shillings, we are not going to tax that money. That is your money. So the tax threshold is going to be 1 million shillings. Anything below 1 million shillings, that is your money. Use it to better yourself as an individual. That works a lot better than, we have been seeing all these programs. Throw money at people, PDM, Mioka, Youth Livelihood. And yes, we want to bolster our people. And you'll be seeing many of those programs where we can bolster the ordinary people as opposed to foreigners. This money we are throwing at these foreign investors, we want to put it in the local people's businesses. But we begin that by lessening the tax burden on our ordinary folks. That's something that we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our party spokesperson. Now, this country seems to have a lot of divisions. We've had governments which pity us against each other, people from regions versus the other regions. But we are one people, we are Uganda, and that's why in our third priority point, we talk about national unity. We have deliberate plan to make sure all of us live in this country united. I will invite Mr. Diogo Fred and Mr. George to talk about national unity, which is part and parcel of our party, but also part of our manifesto. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, the President and everybody gathered here today. My name is George William Okoit. I am one of those presenting priority number 3 that states that we as a country must focus on consolidating our national unity. We come from a country that has a history of war. If you're very much aware, every part of this country, including Central, had at least 1 or 3 rebel groups. While all these rebel groups existed, they did not fight an individual. They were all fighting for leadership for everybody in this country. We have consumed fabricated history and distorted lies in a way that they tell us it is NRA that brought peace to the country. It is a lie. There were more than NRA groups that were fighting for peace. They simply lied the other warring parties to come together and drop their guns, gave their leaders offices like General Ali and others. Even as investors, we have them. They gave them positions so that they can tell their followers to stop. After they stopped, they were never compensated, they were never empowered, they were ravished in poverty. And that was done so that they can consolidate power in one person who we all know. And they told us, they gave us peace. They simply silenced guns. Other regions, I want to give an example of Teso. Teso, with the war that we went through, we lost our backbone economy, which was the cattle economy. We expected that when a government that is concerned of its own people takes over, the first thing they were supposed to do is to make sure that we, the people of Teso, are sat down and given an opportunity to forgive one another, reflect on their future, and concert their effort in developing the area while government is supporting them. As the National Unity Platform, this is our commitment and promise. We cannot arrive at a consolidated country peacefully without truth-telling. So as a government, we commit to establish a truth, reconciliation, and a justice desk. And here we are demanding that as a country, can we come together? If you know you are responsible for having committed an atrocity, come forth and tell us what happened, not the lies. Ugandans value forgiveness. Ugandans value unity. We assume that somebody cannot forgive you unless you start by telling the truth. So we are saying as a government, first and foremost, we want to put this in place so that we track all the sources and the causes of why we went into war and therefore forge a way forward. Number two, as a government, we are saying, can we put in place at least a rehabilitation program? One beginning with psychotherapy rehabilitation. Because we cannot be able to think straight when all of us are suffering from post-trauma disorder syndrome. The syndrome is caused by direct face of traumatic events like war. That is the reason as to why they will never arrest an NUP member peacefully. They want to beat them up, bring the torture on so that you can see, so that psychologically you suffer PTSD altogether. They want to make sure, because you know, PTSD is transferable through your gene. For us in Teso, people fear to face government because our parents transfer the gene of fear and trauma to us genetically. So we are saying as a government, we are putting in place a program to see how best we can de-escalate trauma in the mind of our people. I thank you. I give Joko the chance.
Mr. Koi, we really come from war-torn areas because the energy you put on the mic, you just know these are people from war-torn areas. Because you have been crying for long, now you have the energy. I hope I'm not going to be also another one. Dear President and comrades present, my name is Kyagulanyi, aspiring for MP for Kidul Municipality. When I was contacted to come and present on how reparations on war-torn areas have been done in the new government, I asked myself, how am I going to dress? Should I dress like a person coming from a war-ravaged area? Or should I dress like a person of a new Uganda? And I decided to dress like a person of a new Uganda. Because in the new Uganda, you don't need to look like your problem. In a new Uganda, no one should look at you and say, look at that bakoko. I learned this vocabulary because of teaching in Kampala for 6 years. Comrades, when I was coming, our bus stopped on the way and a group of people putting on round hats and holding sticks entered the bus. If you were supposed to be there and listen to the whispers of people in the bus say, they are there, they are passing. Yes, those are the Balalos who came to steal our land. Those are the ones. I looked at myself, really? In a new Uganda? We still look at somebody's dressing and we believe we can judge them because of the way we look? This is going to change in a new Uganda because of the promises that I'm going to enumerate now. One, we are going to end sectarianism and tribalism completely in Uganda. We are going to make sure that you are judged by the level of your brain, your competence. this issue of technical know-who should stop, but we should go back to technical know-how. You still remember that in your primary? Technical know-how, we used to cram that. But these days it has changed. You need to know a certain language. No wonder a certain general called MK said he's going to teach our comrades a certain language that I don't even want to mention, because he is just weaponizing innocent people who have nothing to do with their government. That is a family rule. To conclude, I want to say we are going to have equal pay for equal work. Teachers are striking. I want to tell you, in Central here, you are lucky. From Monday to Friday, you get children still going to school. Why? Because their parents can pay school fees. From my village, children have not seen teachers for close to 25 days now. And teachers, the leaders of these teachers are moving around saying we are talking with government. Talking with government? Up to when? Elections are coming. Why don't they use this time for election to pay them if possible? So I'm sending a one to fellow teachers in Uganda. If there has never been a time you want to vote Museveni out, this is the time, because you have not been paid. Let me talk about national unity. We are going to organize national unity festivals and social cohesion functions, where if we are going to dance at the headquarters here, we are going to see Imbalo, we are going to see La Raka Raka, we are going to see Baksimba, we are going to see Otole, we are going to see Ajosi from Teso, we are going to bring the Karamojams to jump here, we are going to have all kinds of dance, so because it is called national. Thank you so much. To conclude, we are going to empower the existing cultural traditional institutions. Comrades, you realize what happened to the king of Renzururu, King Wesley Mumbere, who was punished by the government for close to 6 years. He never stepped on his soil because he was telling the truth. In the new Uganda, traditional institutions are going to have their autonomy. Traditional institutions are going to be empowered, and this will work throughout the country. They are not going to be used simply to support the government in power, but to tell the truth to power. Thank you so much, comrades. A phone attack, Luakna Choli, Lango, Karamojong, West Nile. Machali National Unity Platform, look. Watika wajoni gamante manyen papati enini, obenero ni apoga matie Uganda, makanga manyang kole kinani umebo. Ka chole kinani chol, ka Karamojong kinani komechol, beberu pe Uganda. Igamente manyen pa National Unity Platform, wabenero ni lufonye kichulugi mabe, wako fonye lutino. In Baganda we say abana basome, right? Children are going to go to school. Thank you so much. I continue. Oh no, thank you so much. Hey, my transport has started coming to go back to Kingdom.
Thank you so much. When you go back to them, we love them so much too. That said, before we have the next priority area discussed, our alumni from the School of Leadership are preparing a skit for us. So after the next presentation, let's prepare our minds to welcome them to present their skit. Having said that, I think the discussion around teachers not teaching and the poor quality education takes us to our next priority area, which is access to quality public services. And the emphasis there is quality. So I will welcome Dr. Bibit Nalukwago and our very own Dr. Nambasa doctors to come and present on quality public services. Thank you.
People power. Our power. NUP. And everywhere. Even here. Even New Uganda. Mr. President, the Secretary General, the Leader of Opposition, all leaders present, and the general public of Uganda, good afternoon to you all. My name is Dr. Shabim Nambasa, and I'll be presenting with Dr. Judith Nalukwago on priority number 4. And for priority number 4, we are saying that as the National Unity Platform, one of the things that we are going to put emphasis on is access to quality public services. When we talk about public services, We are talking health. We are talking education. We are talking clean water. We are talking transport. We are talking infrastructure. When we look at our health system at the moment, you will find that out of all the districts in Uganda, about 82 districts lack a general public hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that out of 2,100 plus sub-counties in this country, over 1,696 lack a health center for. If we have all those districts that do not have health centers, where are our people going to go when they fall sick? Recently we saw Chris Baryomusi fall sick in his own constituency, but there wasn't a single hospital that could attend to him. He had to send for a helicopter to come and airlift him from his constituency, from the people that he represents, to be treated in a different districts where they also have their own MP. But I ask you Ugandans, how many of you have a contact that you can call for you to get a helicopter to airlift you from wherever you are? I think out of all of us here, it could only be Mr. President, but I'm not sure if he can. He says he also can't get a helicopter. So how many people are dying on a daily because they don't have access to good health care? When we speak about good health care, people believe that we are only speaking because we are privileged. I speak from the profession because I am one of them. I have served in those hospitals. I have been to Chirudu Dialysis Center, but I tell you that people fight for beds for them to be able to get dialysis. But I saw a photo of a certain country where a dog was getting dialysis. Our lives less important compared to the dogs that the whites own. We have seen pictures of babies at Kawempe Regional Referral Hospitals in these plastic chairs where you're seated today. Ladies and gentlemen, we lose over 100 mothers on a daily. It's sickening that as I hold this microphone, in this very minute that I'm speaking, there is a woman out there that is bleeding to death because there is no tranexamic acid, because they couldn't get oxytocin. Sorry, I'm going very far. Let me go to education, ladies and gentlemen. You see, in Uganda, over 1 million children that enroll in primary 1, only about 300,000 make it to primary 7. That is only about how many? 30%? Do you see what I'm saying? Where are these children going that are dropping out? Who is thinking about those very children? They are out there getting pregnant if they're ladies, or if it is a gentleman, he's now going into stealing. And these children are giving birth not to children, but to more poverty, because in the first reason they dropped out, it was because of poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, we find that there are districts, for example, in a park, where the gentleman with the big heart claims to get 100%, but there is no single secondary school. Are you hearing me? Am I communicating, ladies and gentlemen? As we go ahead, we find that in the education sector, a single pupil is only allocated 20,000 for school fees in an entire year, while we see the Speaker's office getting billions for donations. We see so many spending a lot of money, in different things. They're giving out, they're dashing out money, but your child is allocated only 20,000 for them to be able to study for one entire year. I don't know what for. Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak about clean water, I've been to districts where people share water sources with cows. We find that cows are even getting some clean water, but there are districts where they do not get clean water. Out of the 48 million Ugandans here, we find that about 38 million lack access to clean water and to toilets. Where are they putting their stool? Where are they defecating, ladies and gentlemen? There are those little areas that we find, Monkwere, where we pass. We find there is a heap because they don't have access to clean water, and it trickles down to the health system. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Unity Platform promises to offer access to good roads. We find that out of the 1,500 plus roads that we have, I think it's 153,000 kilometers worth of road network, only about 6,338 kilometers are paved. That is only about 3.9% of the total road network in Uganda. But even out of that 3.9%, 20% is in good conditions. We have seen the roads that you use. We did the pothole exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw that we have lakes in the middle of roads. When we speak about our railway system, we don't even have a gauged railway system. That out of the entire railway system, only about 321 kilometers are operational. And from where we saw videos of our own train moving backwards, and everyone was saying, where is it going? But we know that in developed countries, trains are the quickest and easiest means of transport that they actually use. Trains can improve our road transport. Trains can be used to carry out trade from region to region, but that is not what we see in the current Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, when we study about the history of Africa, Uganda, when we constructed Entebbe International Airport, it was the largest international airport in East Africa. And that was before Mr. Museveni took over power. He takes over power 40 years down the road, and Entebbe International Airport is the only airport that we have. Yet it was the biggest in East Africa. We now admire Kenya, we admire Tanzania, but I mean, what are they doing? I have forgotten to tell you that when Magufuli took over power, he paved over 5,000 roads in 5 years. 5,000 kilometers of roads in 5 years. And Mr. Museveni has done that in 40 years. What more evidence do you need for you to say that it is now for us to have a new and better Uganda?
People power. Dr. Nalukogo Judith, nzize kubabuulira mu Luganda so that bajjajja bange ab'Emasaka Bakigulu bategeere n'ab'Emawokota ab'Emikono muliyo musibye mutanamwe mulina okutegeera. Bannange Dr. Shalema annyonnyodde mu Luzungu naye katuddeko mu Luganda. Ngenda kwanguyizaako kubanga obudde butukutte. Public service. Mu Uganda population yaffe eri miliyoni 48. Nga tugenze maaso tuprojectinze mu mwaka 2026 population ya Uganda egenda efuuke miliyoni 16. Ne kwezo miliyoni 16 abasinga kwabo ebitundu 7 bagenda kubeera bakozi. Kitegeeza Uganda oba government erina okwetegekera ekiseera ekyo. Bwe tukyetegekera tetugenda ku developinga. China yetegekera ekiseera ekyo. Singapore yakyetegekera ndowooza mulaba gye bali. So nga ntandika mu public service tulinayo ebyobulamu, ebyenjigiriza, amaanyi g'amasannyalaze, amazzi amayonjo. Tulinayo enguudo, tulinayo eggaali z'omukka, tulinayo ebisaawo by'ennyonyi. Tugamba tuliwa nga Uganda biseera bino. Mu Uganda tulinayo districts 82 ezitalina malwaliro. Ate nga tulina ne sub counties tezirina health center 3s.